in third place on the West leaderboard with 44 league points and the winner of the most recent September Cup. It's Jan Calby from Canada. So Calby, how long have you been playing Shadowverse?
I've been playing Shadowverse since around Tempest of the Gods, so anywhere from like 6 to 7 years, I think.
How did you get introduced to Shadowverse?
I got introduced to Shadowverse from my brother, actually. He started playing it before I did. Then he introduced me to the game, and then I ended up playing it more than he played it. So he doesn't play it anymore, but I'm still obviously playing Shadowverse.
Does your brother have any hard feelings that you kind of surpassed him in the game he introduced you to?
Well, he doesn't really play it anymore, so not that much. But he is getting back into Shadowverse through Shadowverse Evolve, so that's pretty neat too.
What are your favorite classes to play?
My favorite classes to play are mostly Shadow and Portal, but I've also been playing Rune a lot more recently, specifically because of Chess Rune.
Is Chess Rune really, though, like a traditional Rune deck? What are your thoughts on that?
No. I think Chess Rune is pretty much its own class, because it plays pretty detached from the rest of Rune, other than sometimes splashing in some spell boost cards.
If you were to describe your playstyle with just 3 words, what would they be?
If I were to describe my playstyle in 3 words, I'd probably go with quick, clean, and methodical. Mostly because I really like to plan my future turns and then play out my plans really fast.
How do you approach figuring out a meta?
I tend to look at tournament results usually to see what decks are trending toward, and then I try to find some more obscure deck that might have a good matchup into the current meta. So for example, the current meta is mostly Loot Sword and Crystallized Haven, so I decided to bring Artifact because it has a good matchup into both.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it really worked out for you too in the September Cup. Do you feel that not being on a team puts you at a disadvantage in SVO?
Not being on a team puts me at a little bit of a disadvantage, I'd say. Mostly because I don't have people to like play practice matches with or talk about the meta to, but even then I think just playing on ladder and doing my own research helps me out a lot.
Have there been any SVO matches that have changed the way you approach the game?
There was one match in particular that did change the way that I'm approaching the game now, and that's actually the finals match of the September Cup, where in both of the Crystallized Haven games, I didn't actually play very well. In fact, I even missed lethal during game 3. Turn 7, it was the Jean combo turn. I could have evoed Sapphire Priestess, traded first, and that was exactly 14. So going back now, I want to make sure that I'm really comfortable in all 3 of the decks that I'm bringing.
What was your best play this year in SVO?
I would be a little selfish and say my favorite moment is probably when I drew the 3rd Magical Knight to win the game.
In hell from this ward, the Knight is only 5 damage with Evo, 1 more from the pawn. Gets another one though. So if he just trades in this pawn, he can play both. Well, there you go. What do you know, Calby? Just draw another Knight. I mean, there's Blitz would have done it too, maybe, or something. I don't know. No, it was just a Knight. He needed to storm. I don't know. Wow. All right, there you go. Draw 3 Knights. There's a reason chess is limited to 2. You're only supposed to get 2 of those. What was your strategy in qualifying for the Contenders Cup?
So my strategy for qualifying for Contenders was, well, at least my initial plan was to just kind of sneak in through league points. Because throughout the year, I hadn't actually topped that much, but I did really well in Swiss a lot. So my league points were really high, despite not topping that much. But then I also ended up winning September Cup, so I qualified for Contenders anyway.
Are there any opponents that you want to play against the most?
I don't think there's any opponents I'm particularly worried playing against, or that I particularly want to play against. But I think it would be kind of funny to go against Vision again.
Do you have a favorite win condition?
My favorite win condition is usually some kind of combo OTK. So some decks in the past that have been like that are stuff like Arcus OTK, or currently stuff like Mystic King combos.
Do you have a favorite card in Shadowverse?
My favorite card of all time is probably Myth of the Underworld, though it's followed very closely by Mystic King now. So she gives you 20 shadows, and then every time you use a necromancy effect, she refunds the shadow cost. So you could do some really funny combos with this. Like back in the day, you would play Skeleton Ogre on 2, Goblin Zombie on 3, and then Myth of the Underworld on 4.
Is there a particular meta or rotation set that you would like to go back to?
I would like to go back to probably around like the beginning of Tempest of the Gods, but thinking more recently, I think around the middle of Asvault was one of the best metas we've had in a while.
What decks were popular during the Asvault meta?
The top 3 decks in the Asvault meta were Sephi Rune, I believe Loot Sword, and Last Words Shadow. And the reason I like this meta so much is Chess Rune has a really good matchup into most of those.
Playing in a tournament can be mentally demanding. How do you handle the pressure and maintain your focus so you don't misplay?
I maintain my focus by actually talking a lot through my turns. So I think especially if you look back at any games where I've played with my webcam on, you can see me talking a lot. And what I'm talking about during my turns is usually what cards I want to play on my next turn, and then what cards I want to play around on my opponent's turn.
Would you like to give any shoutouts?
I'd like to thank my friends for their continued support over the SVO season. Even my friends that don't actually play Shadowverse have tuned into the streams just to support me, so I'm pretty thankful for that. I think other players should be afraid of me because I'm the best chess player around, and you can't ban it anymore.